Hey guys. Okay, so let's get back into my story and continue this talk. Where I had left off was I had stayed a weekend with my mom. I had postponed / canceled the wedding. Explanation I gave everybody was COVID, but as you guys now know, that wasn't the full reason. It was more the abuse I was going through that I couldn't handle anymore, and it was my attempt to have him change in order to marry him, because I couldn't marry somebody who acted like that and was treating me like that. So after I postponed the wedding, okay, let me kind of back up a little bit. I'm umming a lot, I'm sorry. I was on the Nexplanon, which you don't know what that is. It's the implant in your arm for birth control. So I had that in, and as we were approaching getting closer to the wedding, we had planned on, once we were married, to, start trying for kids. So I don't know exactly what month, but a few months before the wedding, I want to say December or January, I had gotten the Nexplanon taken out. It had been giving me issues anyway at this point, and I started the Depo shot. So, because in my head I was like, okay, I can do Depo up until the wedding. Once we get married, I can just stop going to the appointments, not be on Depo, so on and so forth. So after I'd canceled the wedding, I want to say it was like a month or so later, I don't remember the exact time frame, I had an appointment to go get my Depo shot. Well, he had borrowed my car. His car was acting up, so he borrowed my car for work, and he had came home, and I had mentioned, hey, I need to go to my appointment to get my Depo shot, and he was using my car, and I was like, that kind of became a little bit of an argument. He's like, what did you expect me to do? Like, not go back to work? Because he came home on lunch or something like that. And I was like, oh, I wasn't even thinking about your car not working. Like, didn't even cross my mind when I made my appointment. And so I was like, well, I can call Mom and ask her to take me. Like, I'm sure she wouldn't have a problem taking me to my appointment. And he gave me the ultimatum of either I go get my shot and he won't be around anymore, or I don't get my shot. And so I didn't get my shot, which I didn't agree with, but, that manipulation, it gets to you. He had gotten upset. The reason he was upset about it and didn't want me to get my shot is he felt like I was messing up his timeline, because I had told him, after the wedding. Like, that was my whole thing that I had been talking about for the last year and a half, was after the wedding. Because, one, I didn't want to be pregnant for the wedding. My dress that I had already purchased was a mermaid fit dress. So, you women who know about dresses, there's not a lot of room for budge in those dresses. And my dress, I literally bought the sample gown that fit me perfectly, to a T, hugged every curve the right way. I couldn't even imagine having a baby in that dress, being pregnant in that dress. I would have to buy a whole new dress. And so that had been my stand the whole entire time, the whole year and a half. I didn't want to have kids until the wedding. So he was upset because he felt like that was postponing starting our family. So me postponing the wedding was postponing starting a family, which in a sense it was, but in my head, for valid reasons. Obviously I wanted him to change. I needed him to change, to be able to marry him, let alone have kids with him. So I had stopped taking my Depo shot, and as time went on, this was February, March, COVID happened, so Easter came around, and we spent that, just us, him, me, my son, and his daughter, at home, and it's actually kind of great. I did miss my family a lot, but people were getting sick, and like I said, with COVID, they're limiting get-togethers. So I didn't get to see my family for a while with COVID. Then came Mother's Day, and it was a good Mother's Day. Him and the kids went and got me some flowers and brought them to bed. I was still in bed, and they left and got flowers and brought them up to me, and we planted them in the backyard. It was really quite neat. It had 4 different kinds that we planted. And he was very good at, like, being sentimental about things. Like, this one represents us because of our love, and this one represents his daughter. This one represents Trey. He was really good about that aspect of it. That same day we planted the flowers, we grilled, it was a good Mother's Day. And keep in mind, like, as I'm telling you guys the good things, because obviously, as I explained with trauma bonding and abuse, like, your memory, it deteriorates a little bit. You have things you forget. So I do need to do a little bit better about looking at things, researching things to help you guys out. But keep in mind, with all these good things that were happening in between, we were having arguments almost weekly. With those arguments, it usually was something really small that he turned into something huge. Or it still wasn't even huge at all. He just would spend hours and hours and hours speaking at me. Not having a conversation with me, speaking at me. I never felt like it was a back and forth conversation. It was always like I was his child, and I was being spoken at or to versus an adult conversation about a situation. Then came Father's Day. Good old Father's Day. We had a good day overall. We just spent time as a family at home. Took a little photo shoot. The kids and I got him the shirt that said "Dope Black Dad." And then the kids had on shirts that said Black Lives Matter. And then I had on a shirt that said Black Lives Matter than White Feelings. Check your privilege. And we did like a little family photo shoot in front of our garage, which is white. So it was like really cool. Again, we grilled out. He loved to grill, so we did that quite often, especially when the weather was nice. We grilled out, and we had bought fireworks, which were totally for the 4th of July, but he wanted to set some off for Father's Day that night, and okay, let's have at it. So he was setting them off in the driveway. I was going to say parking lot. In the driveway, and he had handed me his phone and was like, "Hey, babe, can you take some videos and pictures while I'm doing it?" Yeah, sure, of course. And at this point, I hadn't touched his phone since Christmas, when everything happened at his mom's back home. And notifications. He was flirting with another girl on, lo and behold, Snapchat. Once again, on Father's Day. Why we're spending family time together. And my next door neighbors were over watching the fireworks with us. And honestly, I can't remember what he worded or how he worded it. And of course, I said something, and he just pretty much made a comment about, "See, this is why I can't let you in my phone or near my phone. You just go looking for things," and so on and so forth. Really, it was a notification had popped up. And I just, got the best of me given our past. And that was June. That was Father's Day. 4th of July came around, and I know I keep talking about holidays. It's just kind of how I can remember things. We hung out with our friends. We have this couple friend that we hung out with, and they let off fireworks in a parking lot, and all the kids sat around watching it, and it was a great time. They're really good friends of mine. We are still really, really good friends. Love them to death. They know who they're talking about. And happy birthday, baby girl. You're watching this. I know today's your birthday. I probably won't post this till tomorrow, but I love you. Anyway, sorry. Mini little shout out to her. So then August rolls around, which is his daughter's birthday. And like I said, I love birthdays. So we did that up real big too that year. I feel like I'm skipping a lot, guys, and I'm sorry. Just because in between things died down a little bit physically, with him actually putting his hands on me in the literal sense. Around the same time as her birthday. It was a great birthday, by the way. It was one of the best. It was really cool. There was an incident and an argument in which I was working, and I work from home, like I said, sitting at my desk working, and I do own 2 firearms registered to me, that I kept in safes or on my person, depending on where I was going or what I was doing. And there was a night that we had gone out, and I obviously didn't want to have that in me going into a bar club scene, so I put it in the glove box, which locked. So it was in his glove box, and the next day or so I had forgot I had put it in there, and we had started to get into an argument. Honestly, I don't remember what it started over, but he was saying he was gonna leave and this and that. And I kept telling him repeatedly, just give me my gun back. Like, I don't care what you do, just give me my gun. Just give me my gun. That's all I kept repeating. And he started screaming at me, if you tell me that one more time, I'm going to go off. I'm going to black out. I do have this conversation recorded. So I thought about putting in these conversations, these recordings in my videos. But I think what I'm going to do with those is once I'm done with my entire story, I'm gonna start making videos around the recordings and kind of explain what's going on in them at the same time, just because I feel like if I put it in the video while I'm telling the story, it's gonna draw it out a lot longer for you guys. You guys may not care, but I just think it'd be better this way, because that way people who are watching the videos, if they strictly want to hear things that are being said by him and stuff to maybe like relate to their own life or their own situation, they can go to those videos directly. They don't have to listen to this entire thing to find those recordings, or like try to figure out what video, what recording's in. I just think it'd be better for everybody and stuff. But I do have it recorded. And within that argument, we had bought PVC pipes, the bigger ones, because we were going to make like a jungle gym type thing for the puppies and stuff, and have them dangling down, kind of like you do for little babies, but for the puppies. And they were laying on the floor in the dining room, which our dining room and living room, where my desk was, is all like open concept area. And he was just arguing with me and didn't want me to bring up the fact that he had my gun and that I just wanted it back. I didn't care what he did. I just wanted the gun back. And then he kept threatening to break my computers, because apparently that's all I cared about. Well, I was the one paying the bills, so of course that I cared about that. Anyway, he was threatening to break my computers, and then he was threatening to hit me over the head with this PVC pipe. He then got to the point of anger that he came over with the PVC pipe and smashed it on my desk and broke it in half. And I'm telling you guys, this isn't just a small little PVC pipe. It was one of the bigger, rounder ones that they use for plumbing and stuff like that. Broke it in half. And then he did proceed to hit me on the top of the head with it. Also, in this altercation, he would put his hand around my neck and fling my chair backwards to the floor. He didn't actually physically choke me, but was trying to intimidate me with it and throwing me to the floor in this situation also. I still just kept asking for my gun back because I didn't want it in his hands. At this point in time, he was threatening to go to the cops and say that I provided him the gun to go kill my son's father, which is not true at all. He was planning to blackmail me. Terrified me, scared me to death, because that's not me at all. I did later, well, actually it was prior to that, that's why I was recording. I had talked to my attorney who was handling my custody case, and she had spoken with the sheriff's department and told them about these things he was saying. He was, one, threatening to blackmail me and say that I was trying to have him go kill my son's father. Then he was threatening to just go kill someone with my gun and put it on me. Then he was at one point threatening to go to my son's attorney and make up outlandish lies about me to get my son taken away from me. So with me talking to my attorney and her talking to the sheriff's department about this, they advised, that's one of the reasons I started recording a lot of things, was based on their advisement. Because if he did try to do these things to me, then I have evidence and proof that he was threatening and blackmailing me prior to the event actually happening. So that's one of the main reasons I started recording everything. Another reason I started recording things was just purely his manipulation and mental mindfuck. It literally had me wondering, like, we'd be in the middle of an argument and it would become I didn't say that. You said that. You did this. You did that. Why did you say this? Why did you say that? And it literally had me, like, to the point I wasn't remembering. Like, wait, did he say that? Wait, did I say that? Did I? Like, it literally had me to the point that, like, I was dumbfounded. So the recordings, I would be able to, after the argument, listen back to them and be like, okay, I'm not the crazy one here. Like, he did say this. He did say that. He did that. He did this. Like, I didn't do this. I didn't do that. Like, the recordings helped me, like, realize, like, I'm not the crazy one here. Like, he is legitimately mind manipulating me, which also at this point I started watching Narcissist videos on YouTube and TED Talks and podcasts, because I started realizing he was more than just an abuser. He was a narcissist, and not in the terms of, you know, when people like to throw around the term narcissist, it's usually because they're, like, so into themselves and stuff, which, yes, that is a narcissistic trait and tendency, which he did have. He thought he was God's gift to earth and to women, and thought he was, like, the finest man on earth. He thought very highly of himself. We'll put it that way. And so, yes, that was one of the traits and tendencies, but there's also a lot others. I'll actually pull that up for you guys and provide a list of those things. I can actually probably add a photo of them at the end of the video. Put in those things, those traits and tendencies, which he hit every single one. Every single one. There was not one narcissistic trait that I was like, not really. Every single one. And that was my eye-opener, was realizing, like, this is getting dangerous. I knew it was getting dangerous, but at this point, it went more than just physically threatening to harm me. Well, physically harming me, threatening to harm me, to now he's threatening to get my son taken away. Now he's threatening to blackmail me to put me in jail. He also, at this point, had started threatening my family, my friends. If I didn't do what he said or listen to him to an exact T, then he would start killing my family off one by one by one because he knew where they all lived. It became dangerous not only for me but for my family. It was terrifying. And again, that's one of the reasons I stuck around. I know a lot of people think, why did she stay around? They put such fear into you that you don't know what to do. Like, he started threatening to get my son taken away from me. I was going through a custody battle at the time. So, in my mind, I couldn't help but think, if I'm not with him, I don't know what he would do or say when it comes to court. Or if my son's dad's attorney would pull him in or not. You know, I didn't know. At least in my head, I thought if I stay with him, at least I know where his mind's at. I know where his thought process is at. Like, I felt like I had a little bit of control, in a sense, at the outcome at that point. And that's why I proceeded wedding planning. That's why I proceeded to stay with him even longer at that point. As I felt like that was the only thing I could do to protect my son. So then time keeps going on. We have a litter of puppies. Our first litter. And everything went well. I did most of the social media stuff for them. He did a lot of the YouTube videos and stuff like that and Instagram posts. Mine was more the back end of customers to buy the puppies, finding ABKC shows to take the dogs to, because we did show them, and so on and so forth. I made their vet appointments. I handled printing off and filling out their paperwork, things like that. So we did find homes for all the puppies. Well, we kept 2 out of that litter. Capone and Jazz. Love and miss you guys so much, and so does Trey. So one of our little guys is still here locally, not too far from us. From me. I won't say his name, for the owner's sake. And then we have another one that went to Illinois. And then we had our very last girl who went out to West Virginia. And that one, we ended up actually delivering her ourselves. Didn't really trust anybody, all the scams out there. So we did that ourselves. That was Thanksgiving, over Thanksgiving. Again, COVID was a big thing, so my family wasn't getting together. My aunt actually came down with it. So we weren't getting together at her house. So we took that time away from work and the holidays and the kids having time off from school and delivered baby girl out to West Virginia. His family lived not very far from West Virginia, so we went ahead and made the trip to go stop and see his mom and stuff. We were already going to be going back down for Christmas, but we were like, hey, we're nearby, let's go see him. So we went and saw them, and we actually ended up picking up another puppy on our way back. Wasn't that? Yeah, that was Thanksgiving. I had to try to remember if that was Thanksgiving or Christmas that we picked her up. But yes, that was Thanksgiving. I forgot that we had purchased a puppy not far from where we live also prior to us going to West Virginia. So at this point in time, we have 2 adult dogs. We kept 2 puppies off of the litter that we just had. And then we had purchased 2 more puppies. So we had 6 that were ours, that we owned. man, time flies. So Thanksgiving happened, Christmas came around, and we did go and see his family that Christmas. We spent about 2 weeks out there. There was a big argument when it came to that situation, because of custody stuff, and my son's dad not being very negotiable with time, and wanting to take my son on vacation. What actually ended up having to happen was ridiculous. My abuser got upset because he didn't understand how we were going to make things work when my son had to go back to his father's, and we planned on being out there for 2 weeks, and obviously we weren't going to have him for that full 2 weeks. He started getting angry at me about the situation. He told me that I need to figure it out. He's going with or without me. He at one point said that he was going to take his baby mom with him, if I wasn't going to go. It became, yeah. And so I figured things out. What ended up happening is we drove there with both kids and 4 dogs. We left the big dogs with 2 of my family members, and we took all the puppies with us, which we had 4 at that time. Took them with us, and we were there for a few days, and then I had actually bought plane tickets. So I flew back with my son and on a Tuesday, and then he went to his father's the next Wednesday, and I flew back out to where he was at that Wednesday. So just 2 days of flying for me. Why we were there over Christmas, he made it miserable. Man, it's kind of even hard to explain. We had stayed over New Year's Eve, and he had been like, we had been making plans about going out for New Year's Eve while we were out there, because, why not? That did not happen. And the whole time we were there, everybody else made me feel so warm and welcomed. His entire family, it was him who was just, like, he could have cared less if I was there or not, essentially. Which, obviously doesn't make someone feel good. And then there was an incident that I had stepped in a puddle of water. It was really dark out. I couldn't see. And he went off on me about why the hell did I even get out of the car, and just went off on me. And luckily his sister was there and was like, you don't need to talk to her like that. After New Year's Eve, he got really, really sick. So we left a couple days after New Year's, and he was so sick, like would not stop throwing up. And we got the car loaded up and headed out, and I drove the entire way back. He tried for about 20 minutes to drive, but he was just so sick he couldn't do it. So I drove the entire way back. Him sick as a dog, horrible. We finally get home. His child's mother came and picked up his daughter, and he took a nap. I left to go pick up our dogs from the family members that were holding them, my mother and my uncle. And as I was going to pick them up, I had oh crap, we didn't call his mom to let her know we made it back okay. So I called her, and I was like, hey, I wasn't sure if he called you, but we made it back. I'm just running around to go pick up the dogs right now and stuff. And she asked how he was feeling. I told her he was still sick, and then she proceeded to ask if I was with him. And I was like, no, he's back home. I'm going to get the dogs. And she was like, well, honey, I want to talk to you. And I'm like, okay. His sister was there too. And she told me, honey, I can tell you aren't happy. She said, you have too big of a heart and you are too kind of a person to not be happy. And she said, even if that means not being with my son, she said, you deserve to be happy. She proceeded to tell me she would always be there for me and Trey, so on and so forth. But that was a bit of a wake-up call. I mean, I've had a lot of wake-up calls, but for someone's own mother to tell me, like, to walk away from that person, if it means me being happy, then to do it. And what's crazy is I thought I put on a good front that entire weekend. Well, not weekend, week. 2 weeks we were there. Like, I thought I put on a good happy face, to say the least. But she saw right through it. She saw right through it. I think she knew a little bit that was going on between him and I. Not a lot. I didn't speak to her about it, but whenever him and I would get to an argument, he always happened to call her and talk to her. Oh, Brittany's leaving me. Oh, Brittany says the wedding's up. Oh, Brittany this, Brittany that. Anytime there was anything between him and I. So she knew there were problems. She obviously didn't know to the full extent of what was going on. But she knew there were problems, obviously. After that, like I said, that was after New Year's, so we're into January. I was going to keep going, but I see the time. So I'm going to stop there because when I finally did leave, it was in April. So we're getting close to when I finally did leave and how I left. And even after I left, things that have happened and are still going on. So I'll finish out the story, my story, up until when I left and things that have happened since I have left. And then in the following videos, I will start showing pictures of things that were done to me. And I will start sharing the recordings of our arguments or conversations, just because I want you guys to be able to detect the red flags. Like, I understand I'm telling you red flags and I'm telling you things that happen and they may be happening in your own situation, but I also think hearing it helps. It did for me. It's been a lot of work because I have a lot of recordings, so I'm still trying to listen through them all and get through them all and pick out ones that I think are going to be best and not be ridiculously long, because there are some that are like 3 hours long. As I've told you guys before, one of his tactics was sleep deprivation. So, well, that just happened. But yes, one of his tactics was sleep deprivation. And what I mean by that is I would be upstairs watching TV, going to bed, something of that nature. And he would come upstairs literally to pick an argument. That would literally be his whole agenda. Even though he knows I'm going to bed and I have to work in the morning, he would come upstairs to pick an argument. So it would get to the point that we would be having arguments till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And half these times, the arguments, I wasn't even speaking back. Like, I wasn't even speaking, hoping to end the conversation quicker, because I was so stinking tired and just wanted to go to bed, and was just exhausted. But he didn't care, even if he had to work the next day. Like, he didn't care. But he could also survive on, like, a lot less sleep than I am. I can. Like, let's be honest. I'm that person that needs, like, 8 to 10 hours of sleep. He could survive off of 4 to 6. Like, everybody's body is different. But it would get ridiculous. And then he would do it on the weekends. And so then on the weekend, I would sleep in. And then I would get yelled at or bitched at for that. Like, Yeah. Or it would become well, I take care of the kids so that you can sleep in. So then it became I do this, I do that competition. And of course, I don't like those competitions, especially with him, given the fact that I took care of the kids all day long. My son was doing online school last year, so I was helping him with school all day long on top of working my 40 plus hours each week. Then to top that off, I was taking care of all the dogs. Yeah. So the fact that he wanted to throw in my face that he took care of the kids on a Saturday or Sunday morning so that I could sleep in, was quite comedic to me. Considering I would get up every morning to make his breakfast and pack his lunch and then get the kids off to school when my son did go to school or do online schooling. And then I would work all day and take care of my son and the dogs. When he would get home, I would make dinner. Well, dinner was usually made before he got home. Yeah. So I can't help but laugh a little bit now when I think about all that, because, really, it's the least you can do. And yeah, you would think, someone who's paying all the bills and taking care of everybody and everything, you'd want to let them sleep in a little bit on the weekend if that's the only thing they ask for. You would think. I do want to bring up one thing when it comes to financial abuse, just because I kind of mentioned it. Sorry, I'm kind of tired right now, guys, so bear with me. So whenever I thought of financial abuse, I thought of the typical, the man works, the woman is stay at home, and, the man, doesn't give her access to money or has her on, some kind of, oh my gosh, why can't I think of the word? An allowance. There we go. And stuff. And so it makes it hard for a woman to leave because she has no money. He controls all the money and controls everything. In my situation, it was different. And I want you to be aware that there are other forms of financial abuse. So in my situation, I paid every bill. Every bill. I'm talking mortgage, electric, water, the internet, the groceries, the dog's food, cell phones, car insurance, car payment. He paid his own car payment, but I paid my car payment, plus both of our car insurances. Yeah, I paid literally everything, took care of everything. Maxed out 2 credit cards because we were living a certain lifestyle, and when he wasn't working, he needed extra funds to provide to his lifestyle. So I would have to put certain things on a credit card so that I could give him cash for what he would need. Or us going to visit his family or go on, things like that. Those were I took care of the trips. I took care of all the financial responsibility. There were moments where a lot of you are probably thinking, well, didn't he work? Yeah, he did. He did. I never saw a dime of it. He paid the mortgage 1 month out of the almost 2 years that we lived here. He might have paid the grocery bill less than a handful of times. I couldn't even it's so minimal. I couldn't even count the amount of times he did. It was a struggle, and looking back on it, it's so sad because I feel like when you have 2 incomes and knowing one income can completely support the bills in the family, that other income should go towards either saving or extra expenses, and it didn't. It went towards his expenses. Occasionally, if we would go out as a family, he would pay for dinner or whatever we were doing. But it was on me. Birthdays, I paid for. Birthday presents, I paid for. Christmas presents, I paid for. Gifts for our mothers, for birthdays, Mother's Days, holidays, I paid for. Like, I literally felt like a walking ATM. And I was literally reaping no benefit out of it. None. I was being physically abused, emotionally abused, and financially abused. It was crazy. I have the same job now that I had before. And yes, I'm working my way out of the debt I was put in. But my son and I live life quite comfortably. So it's quite crazy to me to think there was a two income household prior to. And I was in more debt with more money than I am now. But I'm going to leave it off there. Again, sorry this got a little long. I'll probably wait and upload this tomorrow. But I'm going to leave you guys there. I'm going to try to add the narcissistic traits at the end of all this. I'm going to add photos that I typically do. And then any like little comments that I may think of along the way, I'll add them to the video as well. If you guys have any questions, concerns, just want to vent or talk to somebody, again, I am here. I love you guys. Take care of yourselves. And what I want you guys to take away from this video, I think my big thing is the financial abuse. Know that there are different types of it. And also, I want a lot of you to know you're not crazy. Like, these people are manipulating you purposefully. They know what they're doing. And honestly, best advice, if you feel like you're going through this, like, confusion and frustration of, like, you don't know what's up and down or left and right, start recording things. I know it's dangerous. I know I got one. I got a recording device that was voice activated. It was really small. I got it from Amazon. If you guys want to know which one it was, reach out to me and let me know. I'm not going to post it on here just for safety reasons. But if you want to know, I will definitely send you that information. It was definitely a good one that I liked having. I actually bought 2 of them and stuff. So there's also, I know Android has certain apps that you can use. iPhone doesn't have as many, but there's capabilities. So if you guys need help with figuring out ways to record safely, let me know and I'll definitely be willing to help anybody out figure ways. Especially if it's coming into like kind of a situation I was, blackmail, threats, or like I said, even just pure manipulation to where you're like, you don't know what's up and down or left and right. So let me know. I'm going to help you guys out. I did it and you guys can too. And I want you guys to be safe and I love you guys and I will speak to you next week. Bye.